Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here, discussing some more Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin, the new upcoming real-time strategy game. We're taking a look at the developer blog on the website. This is just some feedback after the open beta, which was a couple weeks ago. I did have a chance to play, and I did have many of the same concerns as the others who were offering feedback up on Discord that I saw. So, of course, the game looks very beautiful. They've done a good job of adapting the tabletop game into RTS format. So the gameplay should have been fun. Like, on paper, it seems like it would be everything I'd want from an Age of Sigmar game. But there were just a couple very glaring issues. Number one, the UI in the game, the user interface, is not ideal. It was pretty difficult to navigate around and find what you're looking for. Which is kind of important when you're playing an RTS game. You want to be able to, locate things very quickly. Of course, part of it is just a learning curve. It does take some time to figure out what, all the upgrades and all the abilities do. So they could definitely improve on the UI in the game. So they addressed that in this blog. The biggest issue for me, though, was the performance of the game. So the game felt very sluggish and very slow, which made it just very frustrating and not very fun to play. Like, for example, it would take several clicks to even be able to select a unit. And then when you issue the command, there'd just be like a several second pause before it actually followed through with the command, which is unacceptable for an RTS game. I'm used to playing like StarCraft and stuff where everything is just immediate. And, when you're trying to micro a whole army, you really need that kind of responsiveness. So hopefully that will improve in the future as well. There were a bunch of other minor things. And, it looks like, they've taken a lot of the feedback to heart. So I do have high hopes for this game. Remaining optimistic. But yeah, let's take a look at the things that they are looking to change. So first of all, regarding the UI, so they're going to add the option to scale the UI for players with large screens. So yeah, the menus and stuff did take up a pretty large amount of space at times, just covering like what is going on in the battle, which is not ideal. So it does look like you'll be able to resize that. You'll also be able to close the menu by just clicking outside of the menu. So you weren't able to do that in the open beta. You had to actually like hit a hotkey, which just got really annoying. They'll be adding more tooltips to the game, which is good. There weren't very many tooltips just from scrolling over things, so hopefully they'll be adding more of those. Accessing Bastion and Conduit menus. You can get to these menus by just clicking on the structure rather than the hotkey. So this was something that when I first started the game, I couldn't figure out how to build units. You would think that you could just select, the realm gate, which they're summoned from, but that was not a thing. You just had to find, like, the button or hit the hotkey. So I'm glad they're changing that. And they're also making it a little easier to visually show how you earn resources. That was another thing that players, I think, were confused about. It's like, how do you actually get more resources in the game? And, yeah, you have to keep units on those conduits and let the area of influence like grow over time. But yeah, that wasn't really very clear without like an in-game tutorial. Tech tree improvements. So yeah, they'll be changing how the information is displayed on the tech tree. So how to increase unit cap size. Apparently, crew boys can have a larger unit cap. They can field more units than Stormcast Eternals, or at least they were supposed to. I don't know if that was even a thing in the open beta, but yeah. Upgrades were kind of confusing. I mean, they just all look kind of the same, and you just have to read through. So hopefully they'll be able to visually show that so you can better differentiate between, which upgrades do what. And yeah, minimap improvements. Players will be able to click on the minimap to move the camera to that location. Okay, well, yeah, that's just a given. That should be the case for any RTS. And then more information on units, will be adding a codex for all units. This is really good to hear. And I hope they also include like the tech tree for each faction as well. Just having all that information available so you can look at it before the battle and figure out what exactly everything does instead of having to, go to some like Wikipedia or something to figure things out. All right, moving on. The controls. When playing fast-paced competitive RTS, fluid controls are a vital part in ensuring success on the battlefield. The first thing on here, though, map movement default keys. So they're apparently changing the default mapping for movement to WASD, which can be remapped for player convenience, but I'm confused by this because no RTS game I've played in the past has used WASD for moving the camera. Like, that just doesn't make any sense, because in RTS games, at least every one that I've played, A has been for like attack move, and then S has been for stop. Like on the PC, I only use the mouse to move the camera, and I guess the arrow keys also can be used as well, but not sure if that's a very positive change. Let me know what you think about that one. Ability and retreat keys. So, yeah, this one was kind of weird. So, unit abilities and then the retreat one had the same hotkey, so you could accidentally tell them to retreat when you wanted them to use a unit. So it's good that they're differentiating that. They're also making it so you can retreat units back to home outside of combat. Previously, they had to be in melee combat in order to retreat, which was kind of weird. Better unit response times to command. So yeah, this was the biggest issue for me. Units will be more responsive at launch, they say. Apparently there were several factors making things slower during the open beta, so hopefully they can resolve those issues. Double pressing to activate abilities. This was another annoying thing. Yeah, in order to use any ability, you had to like hit the same button twice, which just felt very unnecessary. So now you will only need to hit it once. Camera locking to units when using abilities, this was another thing that could be annoying. I think there was like a ballista, which had like a special ranged attack ability, but when you use the ability, it locks to the ballista, making it impossible to actually see the unit you're trying to target. So yeah, that needed to change. And then the ability to change bastion type. So this is like the structures you build on the different resource points. So I guess you'll be able to change which type of structure you have on there, which was not possible in the open beta. As for balancing, they will be making some changes to that. Yeah, there were some issues with the difficulty settings of the AI not being what they were supposed to be. Cruel Boy's unit cap needs to be higher. Unit and economy balancing, yeah, so like I said, certain units are just way too strong against other things, so they will be working on balancing things. Again, we're only seeing half the game as well. We've only seen 2 factions so far, so there will be 2 more factions in the game, so that balancing will be a little tricky, but hopefully they can find a good spot for all 4 factions, so no one faction is just way stronger than the others. Bastion types and the roles are unclear. Menus will accurately reflect their abilities, yeah, so a little more clarity on what things do so you can easily understand what's going on. And then finally, slow resource gathering in the early game. So I guess they'll be adjusting the rate at which you earn resources. Currently, each game does take quite a bit of time to get through. And the early game, I mean, you are able to build units right off the bat, which is faster, I guess, than most other RTS games where you have to first mine your resources for a while. You know, build workers and stuff. There are no workers in this game. But I think the overall game speed does feel a bit slow, like the rate at which units move across the map, so it does make for some pretty long battles, which can become tiresome. So hopefully they can adjust the game speed a little bit more so things are a bit more fast-paced. As for the audio, the menu music was pretty nice. There's some like nice ominous background music going on in the main menu, but then in the actual game there was no music at all. And then the sound effects, there were a few, but they were kind of on the quiet end, and I don't remember the units making any sound when they die, which I feel is kind of an important part of, you know, like any battle game. So, looking forward to hearing the soundtrack of the game, and hopefully the sounds that they add will make combat feel a little more lifelike. So yeah, that is about it. So quite a few issues that they are addressing. Still a few concerns, I think. They will not be doing another beta test in August. I guess at a Gamescom, they'll have some booths set up where people can play the game. So I guess we'll see more footage of where the game is at from there. Oh, they also mentioned that they are planning to release this game later this year. So yeah, the game is already in the late stages of development, and we still, again, only have seen like half the game so far. So hopefully they can, you know, iron out a lot of those issues, and the game is in a good state at launch. But let me know if you played the open beta and what you thought of the game, and or just what you think of the changes that they talked about here in the developer blog. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.